everybody, it is wonderful to see you today. I'm Rita Hickman, a body-mind expert and a narcissism coach, and I help women if they're looking for coaching to get through their narcissism problem. If they've got them in their life and they need help coping, I'm the one that you call. So today we are talking about bad moods. Now, I have spent the majority of my life trying to understand, moods and emotions and the body-mind connection. Hey, Dina, nice to see you. And over the decades, I struggled with it. I was probably clinically depressed until I was about 30. I've pretty much nailed that one down, and then really had to struggle to figure out how to make the best life that I could. And moods were a big one. I spent every morning for a long time forced to be in a bad mood because I couldn't do anything else. And then I started to learn how to use that to my benefit. I started to learn how to use it to help me move forward. Because if you're anything like me, you were taught how to be a good woman. Last night, we had a wonderful narcissism expert on, Tara Spackman. And we talked for 2 hours. Oh my gosh, she's in Australia. She's a psychic. We had a wonderful talk. You can find it on my personal page or on the business page. And one of the things we talked about was how when we're young and we start to find our voice and we speak up and we're told, to be quiet, to get over it, to basically, people were trying to train us to be somebody that they liked to have around, which wasn't always in our best interests, It wasn't always something that would make us whole and make us healthy. And so those beliefs stuck. And so whenever we had a bad mood, whenever we were angry, whenever we were frustrated, we were told to kind of suck it up. We were told to get over it. Not everybody was, but the more women I talked to, it's definitely was an epidemic of being a nice woman. What does a nice woman look like? And then women who had moods or had emotions, we were told not to be like them. Or maybe we had women in our lives who would get upset and other people would shame them, or other people would tell them to get over it. Hey, Chanel. And so, of course, then what happens is that emotion builds, and then we start taking it out on our dog, on our kids, on our friends, everywhere. And that's where I ended up every morning, being in a really horrible mood. So over the decades, I've spent a lot of time with Native American medicine and Asian medicine and body-mind medicine and new age stuff and energy work. And I've spent a lot of time exploring those things. And there is one thing that has always stood out, which is when we have an emotion, it's important to give it sacred space. I remember when I used to work at the Park District. And in the garage where everybody wasn't where I worked, but in the garage, everybody was very comfortable being angry with one another because they were all men. They were used to that. But then when I would come in and I would be angry, I was belittled and minimized and told to get over it. If you talk to a lot of women, that's a common experience, where our natural, normal emotions of frustration and irritation and anger are really pigeonholed into something that's bad. And then other people, like Dina says, they're like, well, you're selfish and it's all about you. Why do you make it all about you? It's not that big of a deal. Hey, Jeanette, and it's never about us honoring our emotions. So Tara's on. Hi, Tara. Nice to see you. She was on last night. And we were talking about how important it is to create a sacred space for how we feel. Now, it started out, as I said, years ago, when I didn't have any choice, because my emotions had built up so much. Those toxins from the chemicals had built up so much that I was sick every morning. I was vomiting. I was exhausted. I was rageful and angry. Hey, Deb. And pretending not to be, and that conflict, that always pretending not to be angry and not to be upset would make it so much worse, and everybody could feel the energy, but I was smiling and I was being nice, and I kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. When I started to get involved in a lot of lovely more holistic, more indigenous medicines, I realized that we have to give ourselves this sacred space to be. And for me, it started out with sweat lodges. You know, when warriors would come back from battle in the Native American culture, they would be given time to decompress, time to process through their feelings, time to grieve, and they would do it through sweat lodges and sacred fires. They'd be given this sacred time to feel whatever they needed to feel and be whatever that they were. And that's how they were able to stay healed. That's how they were able to move forward. We've completely cut that out of our life. Instead, we look at things like massages or facials or quiet time to stare out the window. We look at those as ways that we're supposed to magically shut our brain off and relax. And then when we're done with it, we're supposed to be fixed somehow. So let me give you a story. I spent a wonderful day with my sister on Sunday. We spent 7 hours. It was a wonderful bonding and healing and connecting in ways that we never had before. You know, and there were so many delightful little things, like in the Korean spa, they have, it's all naked in the women's locker rooms, and they have shower areas where you sit down. And when I had originally walked in, I saw one beautiful Korean woman washing the back, you know, both seated, of another Korean woman. And I said, you know what, that's what I want to do today. I want to give that to my sister. And so we had all of these lovely moments. But in between of, you know, the gold pyramid sauna and the steam room and the, you know, and the charcoal sauna and all of that, when I was quiet, I was very angry. And I'm okay with that, because I know that this sacred time that I hold a container is the time that I'm supposed to be processing through my emotions. Because if I try to be level, if I try to be zen and meditative, it is an amazing day spa, Tara. It's awesome. It's very cool. Look for something near you that's an Asian spa where you can go all day and you just wander around and do what you do. They're awesome. So I'm spending all of this time, and I would tell people, I'd be like, yeah, I spent this time being angry. And they were like, well, why would you do that? It's you know, a relaxing, lovely experience. And I said, because this is my time to move this stuff through, to get rid of these things. Hey, Patty. Patty's going to be on Wednesday. It's our next narcissism expert on Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. right here. We're going to be talking about CBD oil and self-defense when it comes to dealing with narcissism in your life. So make sure you show up Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. CST. So I give myself almost 7 hours. It was 7 hours of letting myself be angry and letting myself be present with it. And it was, I would rather be angry in a place where I'm relaxed, with people that I like, with people that I love. I would rather let myself have that balance. You know, I used to always say, if I was going to have a gynecological appointment, I want to have it with a friend. I don't want to have it with a stranger. I don't want some stranger poking around. If you're going to be hurting me, if you're going to be, you know, making me uncomfortable, I wanted somebody that I really like. I wanted somebody that I'm connected to and that loves me and is looking out for my best interests. And so if I'm going to be angry, if I'm going to be hurt, even if it's under the surface and I'm not showing it, even if I'm just being present with it, I want to be in some place where I'm relaxed and happy, because you have to process through these things. You have to let yourself think them until you're done thinking it. You know, many people think that then we'll end up brooding. And we end up brooding when we don't allow ourselves to be present with how we feel. When we're so uncomfortable with how we feel that it just keeps building up and getting worse. And that's how we get the obsessiveness in the brain. That's how we get the OCD. That's how we get the chronic anger, is when we don't give ourselves time to process through. Because here's kind of how it works, okay? So when we struggle with difficult emotions or difficult situations, we tend to develop bad habits of overeating or undereating, bad habits of not sleeping or sleeping too much, habits which put us out of balance and off of balance. And so then we make choices which make us feel worse. It compounds it. And so we make choices which make us brood, which make us stuck in this felt sense of anger and depression because we keep ignoring it. But when you give yourself a wonderful sacred space, like a sweat lodge, like watching squirrels with music and candles and time, where you can sit there and be with it, then those emotions clear out. You run out of excuses as to why you don't feel good because you're able to get rid of all that junk. And when you run out of excuses, that's when you start making better choices. When I ran out of excuses, when it was nobody else's fault why I felt angry or frustrated, when I stopped blaming everybody for that, just accepted that I was angry and frustrated, it was able to move forward and move on. And then I had the ability and the focus to be like, well, why am I tired? Oh, because you haven't been drinking enough water. My psychologist asked me that the other day. I said, today I'm really depressed. And she says, why are you depressed? And I said, it's because I spent 7 hours in saunas and steam rooms and didn't drink enough water. So when we do this, we make choices which make us brood, which make us moodier. You can cut to the chase. You can get rid of this stuff fast when you give yourself these sacred spaces. As I said, Native American cultures, they had sweat lodges. For my sister and I, we've got great Korean spa days, with saunas. And I give myself time every morning to love myself and just be present with all of those negative, difficult emotions. It takes time. Chanel says she wants to run out of excuses. And Jeanette's being really positive too. It is pretty wonderful looking at it that way. If you're going to process through something difficult, you want to do it in a space that's beautiful, in a space that's wonderful. And then we get frustrated. Have you ever noticed when you go on vacation, a lot of people get sick? So you want to get sick before you go on vacation. You want to work through these things and don't just save it for your vacation. So you have to have all these mini days. Today I'm getting, a facial done. A facial is a great way where you sit there for 45 minutes and just let yourself be present while you're also being nurtured. So this is one of the reasons I like sexual healing. I know, odd topic, right? But sex and sexuality is something that is so emotionally powerful and cathartic. It can be used to let yourself deal with some of the deepest wounds, because sex and sexuality, when done right, is really pleasurable. Can you imagine the balance that you get when you're in this wonderful sense of pleasure and you're also working through these deep emotional things? Oh my God, the pleasure magnifies times 100. You would think it would cancel it out, but it doesn't. That inner conflict actually takes you to more pleasurable, wonderful heights. That's how sex and sexuality works. And it's the same thing with all things which are pleasurable. When you compare them, when you put this self-care back into your life, which is time to process through this stuff and feel these things, these self-care days, you try to have them every day. You try to make time, sacred time for you to feel better, to work through this stuff, to reclaim the things, to get to the point where you're drinking your 2 glasses of water in the morning, you're taking your CBD oil, you're picking up the juice, you're loving and connecting with people that are important to you. These are all the things that keep you strong. But if you don't give yourself regular sacred time to be angry, to be depressed, to be frustrated, to be irritated, and let that stuff detox out of you, then when you want to be happy, you're going to be totally screwed, because then you're going to be like, but wait, I want to appreciate this time. It's best to detox the difficult things as fast as possible. You want to buy one of those yoni crystal eggs. How much fun is that, right? So look them up. You'll have they're fascinating things. Hey, Shannon. So this is what I'm telling you to do. Whether it's sexuality, whether it's watching squirrels, whether it's getting a facial, whether it's going to a spa, whether it's taking a mini vacation for you, you are allowed to give yourself time and space to be frustrated and irritated and angry. You're allowed to do that. You're supposed to be. And in fact, it's a great balance. When you're getting a massage, it's a great time to think about all the things you're pissed off about. right? Because then it keeps you from going down that brooding, angry hole because you feel so good, because you're getting something that balances out. It makes it tolerable for you to feel the things that you don't want to feel. So start looking at your self-care pampering things a little bit different. Not as, why don't I feel good and how do I get my mind to shut off? But instead as looking at it as a wonderful opportunity to get rid of the things that keep you from making healthy choices for yourself. And that's exactly how I set up my appointments when I work with people. We use the essential oils that make you feel good and present and loving. We use the music that takes you down different pathways and different rabbit holes. When I was at my spa day with my sister on Sunday, I also had an iPod with me because sometimes people in these saunas, they makes me nuts, makes me completely crazy. And so in order to balance that out, I bring an iPod. Now on my iPod, I've got music from all over the place, and thousands and thousands of songs. And they're designed to take me in different mental and emotional directions. So let's say I'm, sitting in the salt cave, being there and listening to something that makes me feel, do it. How wonderful. Because you're being balanced out and supported by all that nurturing and that love. Let it release. You don't have to, be nutty in the middle of a group of people, but your body doesn't know the difference between things that you imagine and things you actually do. So you're allowed to imagine yourself being rawr, and you're allowed to imagine yourself hitting the earth with a baseball bat, and you're allowed to be present with all of those difficult, hard emotions, because that's the best way to do it. It's not the best way to do it in isolation, where you're beating yourself up, and a lot of times even to tell other people, because they can't handle their emotions, so they certainly can't handle yours. So it's time for you to love and respect and give yourself that love and respect. That negative emotions are just as valuable. And in fact, when we clear them out of the way as fast as possible by giving ourselves these wonderful, pampering, beautiful, sacred times, then we start making better choices that are based on the drinking the water. Now we're able to eat things for breakfast in the morning. We can handle the fiber. We can handle, the things which are nourishing us and making us feel better, So here's your homework assignment for today. And this is a fun one, okay? So whether it's sacred sexuality or whether it's sacred time watching your squirrels, I want you to do one thing that's outside your comfort zone that makes you feel really good. And facials were actually something really outside my comfort zone. I was super judgmental of them because I thought, what a waste of time, what a waste of space. But here you are with someone who's caring and good at what they do, touching all of those wonderful nerve endings and all those wonderful acupressure points on your face and giving you that balance. And that whole time I can sit there and be like, you know what I'm really mad about? And it's all in my head. It allows me to move it and balance it out with the pleasure. So do something that's super pleasurable, whether it's find your yachty eggs in an adult bookstore, play around with that. When I went to Germany, I totally wanted to find the adult bookstore and see what it was like. Whether it's giving yourself time to stare at the squirrels, or watch the birds, whether it's connecting with yourself in a lovely way, or doing exercise that makes you feel good, not that's based on forcing yourself to be something you're not ready to be. I wander around the track for 20 minutes listening to music that I love, and that does a wonderful balance out for my emotions, okay? So give yourself time to be grumpy. Give yourself time to be present, because you won't, especially if you balance it with something that feels good, you're not going to end up brooding. You're not going to end up stuck. Instead, it allows you to stay present with it so that you can move it through. In massage therapy, it's called distraction. When you have to work on something that's very difficult and uncomfortable, you also work on something that feels really good because it balances it out so you can do the work. So you don't run away from it screaming. So, you actually can work with the difficult feelings and the difficult discomfort in your body because it's being balanced out by this other beautiful, amazing, wonderful thing that's happening. It's like death and birth, right? When we're grieving from someone's death, one of the best things is to have a birth happen, because it balances it out. It helps us remember about that balance. So if you're ready to move some of that toxic, negative, awful energy that maybe you've been absorbing from all the crazy narcissists around you, or from the conflict when you were a kid, if you're ready to move through that, schedule something that's super duper pleasurable and let yourself make that a sacred time where you can process through it, okay? So Wednesday is our next expert interview with Patty Mason, CBD oil, awesome expert, endocannabinoid system, and self-defense, on what you do energetically and physically with these crazy, selfish, self-absorbed people that you're absorbing all of their energy through, how you can protect yourself in the first place. Okay? And if you're looking for some help, if you're looking for a coach to help you with a narcissistic relationship, to help you through this conflict and this difficulty and this pain, give me a call, give me a PM. We'll have a chat. I'll give you some great advice that will move you in a positive new direction, and we'll see if we're a good fit. Because time after time, woman after woman, when we go through this process, life gets so much better, and we learn how to become the whole person that we're meant to be, and the light that we're meant to be, and fulfill the purpose that we're here to do, which is to help lead others on how to live a wonderful, happy, balanced, nice life, and how to be nice to each other, okay, in a healthy way. Cool. So I will see you tomorrow morning, and then I'll also see you Wednesday morning and Wednesday evening, all right? So have a great rest of your day. Let me know how your homework assignment turned out, and I will see you later. Bye!